a world where action movies are made, not all action movies are created equal. Only the best make it into the Action Movie Hall of Fame.
Knock, knock. Can you fly, Bobby?
There can be only one!
And action! Hi, I'm Matt Brand.
And I'm Dereck Bordelot, and this week we're coming to you from the parking lot of our local cinema.
That's right. Usually on the Action Movie Hall of Fame, we review an older movie for potential induction into our Action Movie Hall of Fame. But this week, we just finished watching The Northman. We just came out of the theater minutes ago, and we're doing another one of our parking lot reviews. Dereck, let's listen to this clip and take it away.
Your fate is set and you cannot escape it.
How I've missed you, my son. One day this kingdom will be yours.
Thank you, Father, my king.
Father! Remember, for whom you shed your last teardrop.
I can feel now.
I will avenge you, Father! I will save you, Mother! I will kill you, Fiona!
I will avenge you, Father. I will save you, Mother. I will kill you, Fiona.
Okay, so that's a clip from The Northman. We just came out of it. Opening today. That's not actually helpful, right? So it opens April 22nd. We actually watched it the day before, but we're releasing this episode a little bit early. We usually release our episodes on Monday, but we thought, hey, let's throw caution to the wind here. Let's put it out a little bit early. Maybe
see what happens.
People who want to get a little preview going into the opening weekend. So, Dereck, we just came out of it. Initial thoughts, initial reaction.
It's an experience.
Yeah,
It has a lot of ups and downs in terms of pacing, like tempo and it's directed by Robert Eggers.
Yes.
Eggers.
Like the egg.
Okay, thank you.
Like the poultry.
I've been wondering that all week. And I got it wrong.
Buzzer sound effect. Yeah.
Who directed The Witch and The Lighthouse.
Yes.
Which I've actually seen both recently. And so I was and those are two, psychological type movies.
Yes.
So I was expecting something like that from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like atmospheric. But I was also expecting, because it's a Viking revenge movie,
Yes.
a lot of violence.
Yes.
Not disappointed on either end, I don't think.
I would agree. Eggers, you actually just watched The Witch recently.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to get into. Let's just talk about his movies quickly. I do think it's interesting. Both, just off the top, I really love both of the movies he's already done already. So The Witch and The Lighthouse, as you mentioned. One interesting thing about those two movies, those are both they're in a place. Like, they're both kind of stuck where they are, right? They're not leaving their homestead. They're not leaving the lighthouse. This one branching out a little bit. It's a little bit more of a journey, a little more of an epic. So I thought it was nice to see him kind of spread his wings. I will say, like the other two movies, what really stuck out to me in this is just the world building. Like, we just walked out of the theater, and I'm kind of in a daze because, personally, like, so much detail in this movie. Like, there's nothing is out of place. Nothing feels fake. Like, you feel like you're transported to the world that he's created.
Absolutely. The opening scene is when a king is getting back to his kingdom, realm, or whatever, and the ocean in the background, the mountains, the fjord, and the king coming up the mountain, the snow's falling. It just started off just stunning.
Yes.
And this had to be filmed on location in somewhere in Norway. I know most of it is in Iceland.
Yeah.
For sure, which you can clearly see. But yeah, it's stunning.
I mean, there's clearly some CGI for some very, kind of magical parts that happen in the movie.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But for the most part, for the overwhelming part, like, it's, like you said, it's sets built on scene, practical effects, and it just looks incredible, and the amount of care and detail that would have to go into all that, I think is pretty incredible. I do want to just mention quickly. So, what do you think of Eggers' movies? You just watched The Witch recently.
Yeah, I saw both The Witch and The Lighthouse in the last 3 weeks, and I've never seen them before.
Yeah.
I saw The Lighthouse first, and I loved it. It's confusing, it's psychological, it's weird.
Totally weird.
But again, stunning movie.
Yes.
It's incredibly well done, and tells a really interesting story in 90 minutes, which I was really impressed with, to be honest. The Witch, which I saw after, I think it suffers for me from the curse of high expectations.
Okay.
Because a lot of people have talked it up, and when I watched it, I don't want to say disappointed. It's good, and it looks, again, stunning, but it deals with a topic that I just got annoyed with.
Okay.
So part of it, I didn't like it as much as The Lighthouse. So going into this, I was expecting something kind of magical, like along both of those lines, but with extreme violence, to be honest.
So, I mean, and before we came here tonight, you were very excited to come to the movie,
Yes.
as was I. Your expectations. So, I mean, you're talking about expectations right now.
Yeah.
What were your expectations for tonight, and were they met? Were they exceeded? Were they not met?
I think they were met.
Yeah.
I don't think they were exceeded, but they were. This is what I expected. About halfway through, I was thinking, okay, this is a Robert Eggers action movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you got some beautiful shots, but there's a level of intensity to his movies, and particularly this one.
Yeah.
Holy crap! With some of these scenes when they're preparing for battle, oh my god.
I think something I didn't even think to have in my notes when we started, but became apparent basically immediately, was the impact like the music would have, the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Just an amazing soundtrack. Matching his visuals with the crazy. I don't know who did the soundtrack. I didn't think to check that beforehand, but yeah, it does a lot of heavy lifting. I'm not even going to say heavy lifting. Like it matches.
It works.
It levels out, like it works on par with the great visuals. It enhances everything.
Yeah.
It's in a way I'm kind of reminded a little bit of Dune, as far as
Right.
both the soundtrack and the world building. Like, so much care, and just a lot of fun to be in that world. Dereck, this is like a star-studded cast for the most part.
Right.
Did any particular performances stick out to you?
Well, Alex Skarsgård for sure.
Yes.
I mean, he is ripped. He's got no neck.
It's
all
insane.
muscle.
It's insane.
Crazy. But when
I can't believe I can't believe how big he is.
I
I didn't think he could get that big. Just to be clear, we're talking about Eric from True Blood.
Right. Yeah. A little bit more scrawny back then.
A little bit.
But yeah, he obviously, when the battle preparation season and when he was fighting, the intensity was just crazy.
Palpable.
Crazy. And I thought everybody was really good. I thought Ethan Hawke at the beginning was interesting. Like, when he first started, I wasn't too sure on him, but then he grew on me.
Totally.
For sure. But Nicole Kidman, the latter half of the movie, or the latter part of the movie, amazing.
Yep.
The first part kind of just there, but the last little bit, oh my god.
Yeah, she really kicks it up. And I think and it's good, because I was kind of like, for a while, I'm thinking, she's okay in this, she's fine. But yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Things
too.
pick up at the end. I actually really enjoyed Ethan Hawke at the beginning, but maybe like you, like a little bit like, am I really buying this?
Right.
But by the end of it, like, he was, well, you know what? And he didn't even really look like Ethan Hawke to me. Like, I was quite aware that was him, but I quickly got lost and just was into that character. Any other Anya Taylor-Joy's in this? Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
We got a star turn by Bjork, which is interesting.
A nice cameo.
So Skarsgård is our main character. What do you make of him as? What did you think of him in this movie? You mentioned it already, but I guess larger, like as a leading action man.
That's a tough one, because this isn't your typical action movie.
Totally.
And I want to make clearly Matt and I both really enjoy this movie. Is not for everybody.
No.
Not everybody's going to really like this. But Yeah, I don't know if I could call that. Right now. I would think like if you're talking about a typical like Has Fallen type action movie, I don't think so.
So you mentioned this is not for everybody, and this is something I wanted to get into. Should mention the critic score for this on Rotten Tomatoes is a 90 as of this taping. I do not know the audience score. But Dereck, you mentioned the budget to me before we started recording, or before the movie, before we saw it.
Yeah.
I had no idea what it is.
Do you feel like this was a big movie?
I mean, yeah.
Yes, kind of. I'd say yes and no a little bit, but
I mean, yes and no, but just the amount of stuff you would act, because there's no CGI, like everything's built. To me, there has to be like, a minimum price tag to just get all those costumes and
like everybody in Iceland.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing I'll say like like $50 million, but I know it's probably way lower than that. What?
That was a good guess. 60 million.
Okay.
60 million. Which I did a little math. 30 million in 1988 for Die Hard is 63 million today.
Oh, well.
So it kind of makes sense.
Totally. Basically the same movie.
It's Die Hard in Iceland.
It's not.
No, not even.
Well, maybe. But it is interesting because we're talking about something that's not for everybody. Certainly for me, it sounds like it's probably something that you're into. But does it make that 60 million back? Like, I do wonder, as much as I enjoyed it, I do wonder like who this ultimately is for. Like, because it doesn't have that broad appeal. And I was going to ask you this question later, but I'll mention it now. A movie we put into the Hall of Fame that I think is not unlike this movie is 300. Now, I personally had a lot of trouble putting it in to the Hall of Fame, but I succumbed to it and I did put it in. But I mean, how would you even compare what you saw tonight with that movie?
Well, there is a scene towards the end I actually did think about 300.
Yeah.
Because it looks a little like it. This looks better, don't get me wrong, but it had some similarities. I don't know necessarily if you can compare the two, but yeah, this is just a much more realistic depiction of violence.
Yeah.
Like, really. Zack Snyder in 300 was going for a thing. The green screen, the whole 9 yards, whatever he was doing with all that stuff. But this is something different. This is real.
Yeah.
Like there was an intensity to this, and a seriousness to this that just 300 does not have.
Yeah, like the 300 is more like comic book. Now, remembering back to my time seeing 300 in the theater, it was very exciting. Like I remember being very excited about it. But this feels more like the grown-up adult experience of what that was at the time. Like this is more refined type of thing.
Yeah, that was more of a candy rush. This is more of a good meal.
Fight scenes. Again, this is Robert Eggers. This is not really, to this point, has not been his thing. Like he's made like these psychological crazy movies, but now he's getting into a bit of action. What did you think of the action that we saw in the movie?
It's pretty spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to give anything away here because I actually watched this trailer the trailer for this a while ago with my son. So this is in the trailer. And he remembered when I told him I was going to go see this. This is why I brought it up. When I told him I was going to go see this tonight, he goes, "Oh, the movie where the guy catches the spear and throws it back."
I think we've maybe all seen that. So
yeah,
maybe that's fair.
And
that is early in the movie too. To be fair.
Yeah, that is really early. But the action sequences in this, the camera work, come on, it's so enjoyable.
Absolutely, a lot of tracking shots.
Oh, you don't know what's around the corner.
You never know what's around the corner. Yeah, a lot of tracking shots, and I think it can't be. I mean, you mentioned the intro and how beautiful that looked, but I mean, really, this thing is. I mean, what is it, like dozens of times where it's like there's just this breathtaking shot of the natural world for the most part. Like it's all very like there's hills and fjords, as you mentioned. It just all looks so beautiful, you know.
Yeah.
Was there any like particular scene, I guess, that stuck out to you? A few come to mind for me, but was there any scene?
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, well, yeah. There's a battle pretty early on
The one with the spear throwing?
Yeah.
That starts it off? Yeah.
Yeah. That, I mean, I don't know how early on, maybe 30 minutes into the movie or so, but it was just amazing. And there's some really good ones later on. Even the one that I compared to 300, I actually think is a really good fight scene. But yeah, no, that one, because it's the first, I think, major battle or fight action sequence in the movie, and just something you've never really seen before.
I think for me there's actually strangely like a bit of levity later in this movie where they're playing like a sport.
Oh yes.
Part
rugby, part field hockey, part
hockey,
battle royale.
part, a sport where you can just smash people with sticks. I guess that's hockey. I guess that's hockey. But yeah, and then also there's how would I put this? There's a scene where there's a battle with I would say a monster. Maybe we'll call him an underground monster. I don't want to give away who's fighting who or what, but it's just it's a little bit scary. And actually, to that point, I did want to mention this kind of turns into almost a bit of like a horror movie at some point, except we're seeing it from the angle of the person who's creating the terror,
right?
Which I thought was kind of interesting. Yeah. And also, I gotta say, like, a bit of moral ambiguity in all this. Like, we have our main character, but who's good and who's bad? I mean, you could kind of just make. I think in a way you could maybe make the argument that a lot of people are just kind of bad, or maybe just they live in a time where this is just what people do.
Yeah, you get it. Part of what makes this movie really great in comparison to other movies similar to this is seeing how a lot of how people lived back then.
Yeah.
But like the worst part of it.
Yeah.
Like it some of it's hard to watch. Like, not that it's obscene or violent per se, but you just see what's happening, what they're doing. You don't what they're going to do. And man, oh man, it's heavy.
Yeah, a lot of bone crunching, a lot of bloodletting. I think
disemboweling.
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of times we see or hear about like a village being pillaged.
Right.
We really see it.
Yeah.
It's like
here's
the human side of pillaging.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I hear that word. I don't always take the time to consider what that would be like, and this is what it looks like, and it looks awful.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah, it looks so miserable.
Dereck, is this movie in 5 years from now we'll be revisiting, do you think, for the Action Movie Hall of Fame for potential induction?
I think so. Yeah. I can't see why not. I mean, it's again, it's not for everybody.
No.
And it is a little on the long side.
I was surprised that it did feel long to me.
Yeah.
Which it clocks in, I mean, it's, I think, 2 hours and 17 minutes, I think. Take away about 10 minutes for
the credits
and all that. But yeah, it did feel long, and I would say it's not totally like as action packed as I would have expected. Maybe I don't know what I was. I don't know why I thought this Robert Eggers movie would be jam packed with action.
But one thing, like, if I have to start, nitpicking a little bit, a little too many not seances, rituals.
Yeah.
There was a few rituals that I'm like, again,
another ritual,
another one. But yeah, so that those parts could feel like dragged on. I felt, because I'm just like, okay, I get it.
Right on. And so I guess that kind of leaves us to our last question. Out of 4 explosions, Dereck. Is that what we're doing? 4 explosions? I think that's what we decided on.
That's what we decided on.
You can do half explosions if you desire. How many explosions
out of 4, eh?
Out of 4 would you give The Northman by Robert Eggers?
Straight out of the movie. So recency bias, in there. I would say I'm going to give it 3.5.
Okay. I'm trying to think. I think I've given all of these movies a 3.5 so far, right? Like, I'm trying to remember. So
I was going to bring that up. We've picked really good movies to go see.
We have immaculate taste. Yeah. You're lucky to be listening to such a podcast with two.
We don't waste your time.
Such taste. Yeah.
We don't waste your time.
No. So what? I think Dune. I probably gave that a 3.5. I'm pretty sure I gave Batman a 3.5. I mean, I'm not going to give this a 4. Yeah, I'll give it a 3.5 too. I mean, it's better if we argue, but I think we're kind of in lockstep. I think we both enjoyed this movie.
Do you think you would lose anything? Do you think it worked well in the theater? Like, do you think it would be if people?
Do you think like you could watch it at home? I think
Do you think it's better on theaters? Because some movies it's fine, but this.
I think no. I think for those like landscapes.
That's what I was thinking.
Alone, yeah, I'm glad I saw it, and just like again, you mentioned that opening scene where
Right.
Ethan Hawke shows up, and I'm even from the very beginning, I was looking all around the screen, looking for like little details, like even I'm sure that's the fake snow. I'm sure fake snow, but even the fake snow looked good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people look good.
You brought up the costumes, and there was one time in particular I was like, that guy looks awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just the regular clothes that they're wearing, which make it look like they're there in that time. You know what I mean? But then there's also, there's some pretty tricked out outfits and involving
Some
furs and wolves' heads and metal faces and just it just and definitely like a creepiness. Like,
yes,
even though this is more of an action movie, I mean, it's still got all the atmosphere, all the creepiness that you would expect from Robert Eggers. So
yeah, just tension.
I'm totally into it. Dereck, is there anything else that we have to mention
about this movie?
Yeah,
I think people should go see it.
I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree. I mean, you probably already know if this is your cup of tea.
Yeah.
I would. I mean, if you can stay away from the trailer. I mean, trailers get me hyped, and I was hyped seeing this trailer, but I also kind of felt like, you know what? I kind of know what the story is.
Yeah.
Broadly speaking, it might have been nice to just go in with an open without knowing anything.
Yeah, because we've talked about this. I've stopped watching trailers, but I watched a trailer for this, and I also watched a trailer for The Witch, which showed like the scariest part of the whole movie when the baby gets snatched. Spoiler. It happens early on.
Yeah. Well, let's.
But
if you're
that's
listening to this, you've seen The Witch.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
It happens early, but yeah, no.
Baby jelly. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Somebody's tearing through the parking lot here. All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode of the Action Movie Hall of Fame. You can find us on Twitter at ActionMovieHOF, or you can visit us at actionmoviehalloffame.com.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, rate and review, and give us 4 stars, please. We'd really appreciate it.
Tell your friends, blog about us, retweet us, 5 stars. We don't deserve any of this, but if you do any of those, that we'd be grateful. Dereck, what are we going to review on the Action Movie Hall of Fame next week?
They're going in a bit of a different direction here.
Totally different.
Next week we'll be reviewing 1992's Alien 3.
I think we're going to start a bit of an Alien run, and then we've also got spoiler alert, Top Gun Maverick coming up soon. That's right. So we're planning to do another parking lot review then. Okay, until next time, keep fit and have fun.
Happy trails, Hans.
Anara.
Court's adjourned.
Get off my plane.
Hasta la vista, baby.